Can you get a copy for me, please?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Oliver Manley's here, my boy Christopher Lim. We are live in Brampton, Ontario.
We are live.
The day is Thursday, May the 10th. Can you believe this is probably like the 5th or 6th week in a row that we've been broadcasting live?
We're finally sticking to it.
On Ustream. Yeah, and thanks for watching. If you guys are watching this live or if you're watching the recording, that is awesome.
For the millions watching live.
The millions.
Tens of millions who will watch it pre-recorded.
Yes, exactly. It's for you guys. But in this particular case, we want to talk about the Holistic Entrepreneur. And
so we're doing,
it's a Holistic Entrepreneur show. That's for all of you.
We don't do wine for the Holistic Entrepreneur. Or wine. We don't
Wine?
do tea for the Holistic Entrepreneur, did we?
No, it doesn't matter, man.
No, that's
but
okay.
no, we were drinking tea.
We didn't do it like we do it for the unnamed show.
I was thinking calling it transmissions.
Transmissions.
I don't know.
Of cars when I think of transmissions.
Yeah, that's true. Whatever. I think of radio broadcasts when I think transmissions. But I think the mic is touching this thing here.
Raise it up a bit.
Yeah. Can you raise it up?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
I'm back.
All right. So essentially, you're listening to Meridius Radio. We've started this over maybe 6 to 8 weeks ago, and what this Ustream podcast is really all about is saying what we're thinking. I mean, there's these amazing tools out there like Ustream, Facebook, and all these ways of communicating to the world and leveraging that opportunity that we thought that we should start utilizing it as well and try kind of get a better understanding of what it is and how powerful it can be in terms of communicating with people. And
you mean the podcasts?
Yeah,
the
videos. The podcasts, the videos, and how we're utilizing it. So we are just working on, making the show better every single time. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is just to get it all out of the way. What is a holistic entrepreneur? And I guess Chris and I were part of a mastermind last year, and we decided on the word holistic entrepreneur. It's what made the most sense because. Yes, you can make a ton of money and be successful, like as a business person, but if your mind is not clear, if you don't feel fulfillment, if you're not passionate about what you're doing, if your relationships are in shambles, if your health is deteriorating, then you don't have success at all. And we believe that success involves and encompasses a lot of different areas of your life, and that's why we call it the holistic entrepreneurs. For all of you people who are keeping that in mind. And the whole reason you should listen is because we are holistic entrepreneurs and we are, always being conscious of the entire work-life balance, and we're always challenged with new obstacles, new situations, shiny new objects, opportunities,
right? Yeah.
So if you're listening, this is pretty much for people who are either you're already an entrepreneur, you're considering entrepreneurship, you already own a business, and maybe you just want to get some more insight on how you can have more life and work balance, or you want to work on yourself more, or essentially maybe we're saying something here on this show that you're thinking about, and it helps you.
Yeah, if you have questions about, and you just want to sort of get it out. It's funny, I had a meeting today. When you guys, before you and Mohammed picked me up.
Yeah, I don't know
with that guy. Was. So he was a guy I met, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. We took the same Robert Kiyosaki real estate course. It wasn't the full course. It was just sort of those, one-day courses. And so we met a couple times after that.
Dude, take this off. You look so hidden. You look like you blend right into this furniture.
Into the
you
chair?
Notice that? Yeah.
It was cold. This weather is tripping me out, man.
Yeah.
So anyway, we met a couple years back, and at that time we were starting, sort of, getting the baseline into how to invest in real estate. And we met a couple times after that, but nothing ever really happened. He was at a point where he couldn't invest yet. Like, he was new to the country, just sort of working part time, so he didn't know how to.
Novice.
Yeah, very novice. He didn't know how to piece it together. And then we just, we paid cash flow a couple times, a couple emails back and forth, but nothing ever really happened. And, we went on and started to do the rent to own, created the Rent Busters, did that for the past couple of years. And I just connected with him recently, and he's been doing great. He's picked up a couple properties on his own. He's got a couple of rent to owns. But he's at that point where the advantage we had, I guess, is we knew what we wanted from the beginning. We knew we wanted the work-life balance. We knew the exit strategy of the business that we wanted, and we knew that we wanted time to segment for other portions of our lives. So he's at that point now where I don't think he's really thought of that. He's not really thought sort of really long term on how he's going to build his business. He just sort of went out, and it's great that he did it. But he just sort of went out and got his first property, went out and got his second property, and now he's
Ready
getting
to
that
fire
point.
him.
Yeah, which is great, right? Now he's ready to get his third property. So we sat down today, and I started sort of leading him through questions here, there, like, where do you see yourself? What is it that you actually want out of this business? Like, how is it that you plan to grow? Right? What are you going to eventually get to that point where, or how do you envision getting to that point where you need to start talking to other people, joint venturing, setting up corporations, this, that, right? So something you never really thought about, but it's important, I believe, as a holistic entrepreneur to think about those things, right? You got to think about, how am I going to set this business up long term? What are my long term plans? What is it that I want out of the business? How am I supposed to segment, the work life balance, this and that. So he took a lot out of the conversation just in terms of, I'm thinking, and I was telling him, I'm thinking one day soon, because you're getting to your third property, like getting into your fourth or fifth property, you should probably start thinking about setting up a corporation, but purchasing the corporations, and then you're going to run out of money, so you're going to have to start joint venturing. And you don't want to have all these properties in your name. I mean, the last thing you want is 10 properties in your name and all this liability, this, that, and stuff that he's never really thought about, right? And then it also got to the point where, are you thinking about the time it's actually going to take to manage 10 properties on your own? I mean, like, yeah, sure, anybody can do 2 properties, but you start getting 10, what are you going to do when the failure rate gets a little higher, right? Mm-hmm. 2 properties, sure, it's 100% success rate, but you start getting to 10, 80-20 rule, right? 2-3 of those properties are not going to work. So are you prepared for that? This and that. So a lot of things really came up. And I think I sort of led him on the right track in terms of thinking about what his plan is. And then, just in terms of having a holistic business. So really more the holistic, we were talking about business side of it, but having the holistic business in terms of how do I set this up? How do I make sure that I'm on the right track moving forward? And just, he also spoke about how he wants his daughter to eventually take over this and that. And it's like, yeah, if you got to set it up right now. So if you want to have that time to be able to work with your daughter and have her take over, but last thing you want is to put her into a business where she's just inundated and working 24/7 and you're retired, right? You want to set this up so that she can take it over. And she's got, and then she's got a holistic business that she can take over, and then she has time for her family when she gets married and this and that and this and that. So it was good. It was a good conversation to sort of have me also reflect back and think, geez, what have I been doing over the past 2 years? And sort of see, where he was and where we were and how we went different ways. And we built a business together. He sort of did it on his own. So our learning curve sort of went a lot quicker, a lot faster. Because we got to that point, I mean, in our first year where it was like, oh, we need help. Like, we knew we couldn't do this on our own. Yeah. So we went and got the help right away. Where he's sort of thinking, oh, I'm just going to do it on my own. Well, if, what you're saying and what you're doing is 2 different things. You're saying you want this large portfolio, but what you're doing...
But why? But for what?
And yeah, for why and for what, right? Yeah, so...
And then, and that's a perfect segue to what I wanted to talk about first on the show, is because, I mean, I had a similar encounter where I'm talking to somebody about entrepreneurship and sort of about... what they should keep in mind, what they should consider, like what are some important things about entrepreneurship and being in business for yourself that can, that will actually help them. And you know what? It's like you can have a conversation with that guy and you can offer every tip and everything that you know.
Oh, yeah.
But it's 100% like up to them. Whether they listen to it, whether they do something about it, or they take that information and they apply it in their life.
Absolutely.
So it's always in their hands. But I mean, what reminded me he reminded me of myself, because this guy's 19 years old. He's a bank teller, and he's asking me, should I be a real estate agent? And people say it's hard to be a real estate agent, and it's hard to make money as an entrepreneur, or having your own business, like there's so much risk involved. And I'm like, wow, there's so much that society, kind of ingrains in people to think about, all the risk. Well, it is risky,
Yeah.
but it does take a different mindset.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to kind of talk about is, if I was able to talk to my old self, like at 19 years old,
Right.
whether it's me or just anybody who's like in their late teens considering becoming an entrepreneur, because maybe you don't believe in the options that are out there. Maybe, university or college is not for you. And you're starting to realize that all these people older than you, 5, 6, 7 years older than you, they all have degrees and masters and things like that. And, they're not achieving the level of success as those pieces of paper would maybe in the 70s
Right.
or the 80s.
Or what the promise of what those pieces of paper were supposed to bring.
Yeah. Well, now it's, those papers are broken promises.
Yeah.
Really. And that's sort of what a lot of people face. And this guy dropped out of school too.
Really?
He was just like, there's no point in me doing this. He's like, this has
Wow.
nothing to do with what I'm doing. So that's why it really reminded me
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
myself.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah, I think that's a great topic we can go into. Because,
Yeah.
if I were to talk to myself at 19 years old, what are the things that I would tell myself?
Mm-hmm. So if you're in your early 20s, in your early 30s, 40s, it really doesn't matter. It's pretty much just like if you are at the point where you're considering an entrepreneurship, or you're at the beginning, or maybe you're just like, why the hell did I get into this business? Maybe you're already in business and you're at the point where you're just like, what am I building? Like, when does it stop? And how do I change things?
Yeah. What's the exit strategy?
What's the exit strategy, and what are some important things to consider? So I got a few listed down of what I would say.
What you would say to somebody, or what you would say to yourself?
What I would say to somebody who is like has no exposure to entrepreneurship, doesn't really know anybody who's been in sales or has attempted to build their business, or has always been in like an employer type of situation, and it's just like, should I go out on my own and do something? Or should I build this product that I believe in? Should I start selling real estate, or whatever you decide to choose, right? So I have 3, and I'll go one, and then if you want to go one, we can
Sure.
take turns, right? So if you're listening to this and you're someone who's just starting out, this is what I would say to you. The first thing is, it doesn't, like, what you're doing, whatever business you're in, whatever you're selling, whatever country you're in, whatever language you speak, whatever culture you're in, it really doesn't matter. This happens, I believe, before anything. And I wrote on my Facebook earlier today, all work is secondary to self-work.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is the number one thing I would say. Before you do anything, like develop a product, a marketing idea, a business plan, finding capital, or whatever it is, you have to know yourself. You have to do the work. You got to find out, what pushes your buttons. What are you passionate about? Why are you here? What are you going to offer to the world? I mean, because everyone has value to offer, but what is it? And if you can't dig deep and find out, it's like, this is what I'm passionate about. I like helping people in this way. I like making people happy. I like making people smile. And, I know a lot about computers, or maybe I know a lot about real estate, or maybe I know a lot about whatever it is. And you just lay it out, and where you are at right now. You do like an inventory. So I'd say the first thing is know yourself, do the work, go to a therapist, do personal development, listen to Anthony Robbins, and do that type of self-help, personal development type of work. What do you think?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. You gotta know yourself. You gotta know what it is that you want in order to be able to move forward. You have to know what it is that you have to offer.
Because you're at the center of everything.
Everything is
like
everything is right.
everything that is you are in the middle of it all.
Yeah.
So whether it's your relationships, your life, your business, you are at the center. If you don't know who you are at the center, you will freaking lose yourself. You will be trying to find yourself in those things. I'm trying to find myself in my workouts, or I'm trying to find myself in my business, or I'm trying to find myself in the objects that I'm accumulating. That's when you know that, wow, you don't have a sense of self.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your sense of self-worth is not there.
Yeah, exactly. It's nothing. Well, it's funny when people say the universe doesn't revolve around you. Well, my universe revolves around me.
Yeah.
Because nothing else matters if this isn't taken care of.
Exactly.
I can't take care of anybody else unless I take care of myself first.
Exactly.
So, yeah, my universe revolves around me.
And it doesn't.
So I got to work on me first.
It's not like a. It's not like a. Something bad where you think of selfishness. It's like, no, you have to take care of yourself. It's like the whole airplane analogy. If the airplane's going down and the oxygen masks are coming down, you put the oxygen mask on first before you help anybody else.
Yeah.
So you know what? You might have kids. You might be in a relationship. You might have people that that depend on you. But you have to freaking take care of yourself first.
Yeah.
And you got to know yourself first.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like with kids, right? If you are not taking care of yourself, you're not spending time for yourself, and everything is given, you're going to get to that point where you're just going to break down.
And
then
burnt
who the
out.
hell are you going to take care of?
Yeah,
You can't take care of anybody.
And who's going to take care of you?
Yeah.
The only person who can really take care of you is you.
is yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, your universe does revolve around you. You got to take care of yourself first. You got to figure out what's in here first, and then it'll radiate outwards from there.
And it'll help you find out whether all of your decisions are aligned with who you are. And it'll help you realize and get a lot more clarity in how the world works. When you know your problems, when you break down maybe your past, your childhood, and how you became the way you are, and what the stories were that you've told yourself to get to where you are, to make these your habits, whatever it's good habits or bad habits. When you know this, you know the world, I believe. You see yourself in other people.
Yeah.
And you're able to be non-judgmental about other people, right? So it's like, because I know myself, I know my customer. When I talk to them, I could recognize parts of myself in them, which helps me be relatable to them.
Yeah.
And have, a genuine connection with somebody. So I'd say number one for me, know yourself.
Know yourself. And that would actually lead into what I was going to say. I didn't really write a list. This is just sort of going off the top of my head. And
Yeah, the three most important ones.
three most important things. So things that I would tell myself would be a little bit different. But if I'm just talking to somebody out there thinking about going to business for yourself, becoming an entrepreneur, you got to learn how to sell. You got to love sales, because we've talked about this. Everything in life is sales.
Yeah.
Everything in life is sales. And if you don't believe me, if you're going out for a job, that person who's interviewing you, they're selling you on the job, and you are trying to sell yourself as the employee.
Yeah.
That's sales. Everything is sales. You're in school, you're trying to sell yourself as something. And people are either going to buy it or they're not.
Mm-hmm. It's either you're selling or you're being sold.
You're selling or you're being sold. So yeah, you gotta learn to love sales. Learn how to sell. That's, if you're talking about dropping out of school, you're not going to learn that in school. Like, you got to learn how to sell. You got to learn how to talk to people. And, you just discussed knowing yourself and recognizing that in other people. That's part of sales. Mm-hmm. Interacting with somebody else, speaking, and laying out your product and asking for a sale. Scary as hell when you're first starting, but you got to learn how to do it, because there's no money if there's no transaction.
Exactly.
Transaction involves sales. You got to sell a product or a service and there's a movement of funds.
Yeah.
Or there's a barter or something, but you have to sell yourself.
Yeah, totally. And what's so funny is that sales is, for some reason, looked down upon.
Yeah.
If you're like a white collar, person, or you're in university or whatever it is. I mean, even me, like before I turned maybe 18, 19 years old, I never considered sales. I was just like, I do not want to be selling people stuff. Like, that's not me at all. Like, I do not want to be that guy, that sleazy guy. And there's this whole stigma about sales.
Yeah, sleazy sales.
I know. But you know what? It's freaking one of the most important jobs in the world.
Oh, of course.
There's a saying that says money makes the world go round. Sales makes the world go round.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what job you have. There has to be some sort of sale happening.
Yeah, there is. Always.
Someone has to be buying something for you to be employed, to be doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
There is no customer service without sales. There is no marketing without sales. There is no accounting without sales. There's no freaking anything.
There's nothing without an
sales.
actual product or service that's getting sold. There has to be that movement, that transaction, that transfer of a product, service, something for funds, for money.
And there's something to be said about the sales profession, because when you're put in a situation where you have zero income and the only income you can make is on every sale that you make, you are under that much financial. You don't have the steady income of
Yeah.
a regular salary, and you're forced to use your wit, to use your head, and try and make that money and work at it and do it yourself.
Absolutely.
And you're out there on the freaking street. You're pounding the pavements. You're shaking hands. You're kissing ass. You're making stuff happen, so you can make that. You can make that freaking cheddar.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. And it's one of the, I mean, going out of college, if you just want a job to learn how to sell, that is a great job to get, is a
Yeah.
sales job.
I tell my cousin, she's like 16 years old. I say, whatever you do, the first thing you should learn is how to sell. It doesn't matter. Like I say that to her as often as possible, just to get it into her head
Yeah.
that you have to learn how to sell.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter what it is. You're going to be selling yourself. Even if you're not going to be in business, it's going to be one of the most important skills that you have.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. If you
But-
ever want to get a job, you are going to have to learn how to sell yourself. I mean, even if you just want to be an employee, you got to learn how to sell yourself.
And how do you sell yourself if you don't know yourself?
Yeah.
So you got to know
You
yourself
gotta know
first,
yourself.
because your strategy of selling is going to be different than someone else's strategy of selling.
Yeah.
Whereas someone might be just completely direct, you might be someone who builds a relationship slowly and adds value and then starts doing the sale.
Yeah.
And it also depends on what you're selling too. So, but I say if you're going to be in business for yourself, you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to have that confidence in yourself that no matter what happens, you can lose your entire business. You can fail, but it doesn't matter. You can get back up.
Yeah.
Because you know how to sell.
Because you know how to sell.
You know how to
Absolutely.
stimulate
you can be
and generate
dropped
revenue.
in any country, in any city, in any part of the world, and if you know how to sell, you will be able to find a way to survive.
You will put it together.
You'll put it together. Because that's the one thing about being an entrepreneur is I believe is having that creativity to shit. If something goes wrong, I got to figure out the solution.
I know.
That's part of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And it's just, if you're going to be in business, and maybe you're not the best at sales, but you have to at least know how your business generates sales before you hire someone to do the sales for you.
Of course.
You got to know it because
Yeah, you
you
gotta
have to
know.
find out what the most efficient thing is. So you took my point number 2.
Was that point number 2?
Learn sales and do it.
Oh, shit. Cool.
And that also, see, all of this shit, the whole reason why it's holistic entrepreneur is because it goes hand in hand. You have to know yourself if you're going to be out there providing a service or a product to the world. And in order to sell, you got to know yourself.
You gotta know yourself to
right?
sell.
And in order to sell and know yourself, or in order to sell and be an entrepreneur, you got to know yourself. But the third point that I had was how important win-win is
In
to an
sales.
entrepreneur.
Yeah.
To an entrepreneur in sales, in business, in that entire realm. You have to understand the concept of win-win. Ours is win-win or die.
Win or die.
And the whole concept of that, the way it started was, so Zig Ziglar, who's a sales guy, like talks about sales, has books on sales, did courses on sales. He says, to get what you want, you have to help as many people get what they want. And then T. Harv Eker, in Millionaire Mind,
Millionaire Mind.
he says, you get paid in direct proportion to the value that you add to the marketplace. So literally, in order to get paid, you have to add value to someone's life. Whatever it is, whatever product or service it is, there's a market out there, and there's going to be people there who want it. It's valuable to them. And the whole way the exchange is, so I have a phone, and I'm selling you a phone. You have $300, and you want a phone. I have my phone. I'd rather have that $300. That $300 is worth more to me than this phone.
Right.
And for you, having this phone is more important to you than having that $300. So if I go to you, hey, I'm going to sell you, I'm selling this phone. It's for sale, $300 if you want it. And you say, hey, yeah, I'll pay $300 for that. That's a win-win for me. And we make the exchange. So there's a thank you from me for you purchasing my phone.
Yeah.
And
Thank you for me.
there's a thank you for Christopher because now he has
I
a
have
phone. So it's one of the only situations to be in commerce. There's the only situation in the world where you have two thank yous. You have to line up at McDonald's and you get the drive-through. They give you your food. You're like, thank you. And the cashier says, thank you. You know what I mean? They both say thank you.
Yeah.
And that's the
It's a
win-win.
win-win. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. Yeah. It's got to be, and for sustainable business, it has to be a win-win. If you're ripping people off,
If it's a win-lose,
win-lose, you can forget about it.
Not gonna last.
Especially in this day and age, the internet, it's up there, and it's up there. Once it's up there, it's forever,
It's there forever.
right?
It's on someone's status update, someone's tweet, someone's YouTube video, making a response and talking crap about you.
Yeah,
And that's what happens.
yeah,
And the companies who are utilizing these tools to respond and admit, you know what I mean? Sometimes the initial intention was a win-win, and then afterwards it doesn't end up being a win-win.
Yeah.
But that, like, right at that moment, in real time, in the now, it was a win-win.
Yeah.
And that's what the whole point is. Afterwards, if it doesn't become a win-win, or if it turns out that, they're not happy with the product or not happy with the service, you got to own up to it, right? So there's that integrity aspect as well.
yeah,
And that's part of knowing yourself, and that's part of, being a holistic entrepreneur, is being responsible for your actions.
Yeah.
When it comes to those transactions, right?
absolutely, absolutely. That's great. That's a good point. What can we go? Oh, I got a good one. As an entrepreneur, you can't be too proud to ask for help.
Yeah.
Can't
Ask
be too proud
for
to
freaking
ask
help.
For help. You can't. There are people out there that have done it better, done it faster. You got to learn from those people. And if you want to spend 20 years trying to build your business, go right ahead. That would be a bitch. Why spend 20 years when you could do it in 2? If you just put your pride aside, ask for the right help, partner with the right people, and if it's a win-win, if I'm going to pay you for your help, but you help me succeed in 2 years instead of 20,
Yeah.
it's a win-win.
Exactly.
Like, it's sales.
That's a
so I
win-win
got to sell you on
situation.
helping me, right? You got to sell me on your services to help me do it in 2 years instead of 10. We exchange service for money.
Yeah.
And I get what I want. You get what you want.
There's no point in reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
Like, everything that ever has been needed to be known is in a book somewhere, is in someone's head somewhere. So why repeat mistakes that you can completely avoid?
Yeah.
And just get that freaking head start. So as an entrepreneur, you can't be too proud, man.
Yeah,
You have
absolutely.
to go out and seek help, assistance. You can't do it alone. No man is an island.
Yeah.
Especially in this world.
Especially, the internet age, you can find the information.
You gotta work together, man.
In seconds.
It's a
Type it in,
freaking, it's a
Google it,
voluntary, it's a cooperative world out there. It's not a scary world out there at
No,
all.
it's not a
There's
scary
more
world.
people who are out there willing to help you. So that's what I would say to my 19-year-old self.
Yeah.
Is that before you do anything, number one, know yourself. Because you have to know what you're all about, what you're trying to accomplish, why you're doing it. And, if you know what your style is for selling and what your style is for life.
That's important. Like, you got to
Frig,
know your
man.
sales style.
Yeah.
And I learned that when I was working at Good Life Personal Trainer, and I'm trying to sell people on personal training.
Using someone else's thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You take a little bit here, a little bit there, what you read in a book, what you learned in a course.
And you find out what
And you
works
find
for you.
your personal sales style. You find what works for you.
Exactly. Because it has to be genuine.
It has to be genuine.
That's the whole thing. The reason those guys give you the heebie-jeebies, like the car sales guy or the guy at the clothing store, the reason why they give you the willies is because they are not selling from an authentic, genuine place.
Yeah.
They're just, either just pushing the product without any passion or meaning or anything behind it, or they're just trying like some sales style that is not unique to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they could be saying the same thing. Like, the whole sales staff could be saying the same thing. It's how you say it and how you show up when you say it.
Right.
And who you're interacting with is going to smell it. They might not know deep inside that this person is inauthentic and doesn't know themselves, and really that's why they suck at sales. But it's just going to be like, oh, get away from me. No, I don't need your help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's when you get the automatic no. If people don't like you, then they're going to say no.
Exactly. It's funny. I was talking to this guy, and he's sort of mentoring me doing some private deals. And he listened to my 800 number, the recorded voicemail, right?
Yeah.
And he's just like, quick word of advice. He goes, try re-recording your voice message.
1-800?
The 800
Okay.
number. He's just like, try re-recording it and make it sound a little more authentic. He goes, it sounds a little too scripted. And I was like, oh, really? And
Your
he's like,
this
yeah.
voicemail or
No,
your
not my
800?
personal
Okay.
one. The 800 number. So I was like, oh, really? I was just like, well, yeah, it is scripted. And he goes, okay, think about this. He goes, what is it that the most successful and the best actors do.
They just play the part as themselves, right?
They play the part
just-
themselves, and they deliver a script, but they make it sound natural. It
Yeah.
doesn't sound scripted.
Yeah, it doesn't sound scripted. Yes.
So he's just like, that's, try to add a little more of that into the script. He goes, I know it's scripted, but actors, they're reading off a script.
Yeah.
But the best ones in the world, it doesn't sound like a script. Mm-hmm. That's why they get paid the most money.
Exactly. So it could be the same cookie cutter script for everybody for
Yeah.
every time it's the show is done or the sale is done.
Yeah.
But if you don't do it authentically from your own true self, then
Yeah.
you're not going to be as successful.
No,
you know,
absolutely not.
you might, and it's not going to feel as good. You're not going to feel good about it. So
Absolutely.
yeah, know yourself, learn how to sell,
Learn how to sell.
and do it, and understand the importance of win-win. I think if you know those three things up front and you keep that in mind and stick to that, then you will be very, very successful and you'll have a head start.
Yeah.
And the other one
And ask
is
for help.
ask for help.
Yeah, don't be too proud to ask for
Don't
help.
be proud. Don't be too proud to ask for help.
Yeah. Pride in sales and being an entrepreneur, that's a bad mix. Mm-hmm. You can't. People will smell right through that. Nobody's going to do business with you.
Yeah. You're going to be coming from a place that's pure ego.
Yeah.
And that's not going to help you at all.
Yeah. So it's a little, that's a good, I like that. That's a good little thing that we did there.
Yeah.
But it would be different if I were talking to my 19-year-old self. So if I was going to go back.
If it was now specifically to you.
Yeah. So if I were to go back 6 years
To your
from now,
situation, yeah.
when I was 19, 6 years ago, I would say,
Oh my god. what kind of watch are you using?
all right, 9 years ago. It would be a little bit different if I were to go back and talk to my 19-year-old self. So if it were just me personally, and I'm not speaking to anybody specifically out there, I would go back to my 19-year-old self and say, fuck school. I would say, don't go.
Okay.
I would tell myself, instead, put that money and purchase a piece of real estate. That's what I would say to my 19-year-old self.
That's hilarious, man.
That's just me. Just knowing where I am today, knowing what I did throughout college, and I get great friends, excellent experience, but I would have said no, don't go to school.
Yeah. I mean, because who you are
Invest that money instead.
Who you are now is a result of all those experiences.
Of course, absolutely.
So it's almost like if you were gonna go tell your 19-year-old self, and they have the ability to create their own timeline of existence, just drop out of school. That's what you would do.
Now, I mean, that's not saying like me, because I got
there's no
great
regrets,
friends.
right?
No. I mean, I had a great time. I had a great time in college. Don't get me wrong. Just I had an awesome time, and the friends I made, I wouldn't trade the friends for anything. But if I were to go back, I would tell myself, invest that money instead. Put it in a piece of real estate.
I'm just gonna tweet that out so people
know.
get to experience what
Okay,
your.
if I were to say three things to myself, so I would say invest in real estate. I would have started my sales. Well, I did start when I was about. No, I didn't. I started when I was done. So I would have told myself to start in sales, learn to craft the sales skills earlier. So I probably would have told myself to get into some sort of job that involves sales, get into real estate sooner.
Do it earlier.
Yeah. And if I were to tell myself a third thing when I was 19, I probably would say, yes, you will marry her.
Wow. Okay, so fuck school, learn sales,
Don't say fuck school. Let me say invest instead. Say that.
marry her.
Yes, you will marry her.
Yes, you will marry her?
Yeah. I met Michelle when I was 18.
Yeah,
19.
fuck school, learn sales. I'm going to leave it like that, okay? Because that's what you said, so you can't take it back. So, the three things, if it was, directly to my own self.
Directly to yourself. So
so-
it's a little bit different if I'm talking to somebody who I don't know what their background
Yeah.
is. I don't know where they're coming from. I don't know what the situation is.
I'm trying to think of what
me,
year it was. I don't
specifically-
even know what the hell I was doing when I was 19 years old. So that is 7 years ago, right?
I don't
So
know.
2005?
Okay, 2005
Okay, so
for you.
2005, that's when I just started learning about real estate, and I already started learning about sales and stuff like that. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So if I was gonna talk to my old self, because I ended up dropping out in 2006, so I already knew, you know what I mean.
You were on that
drop
path.
drop out of school. Like that was already on there. But what I would say is go into a job that is 100% sales right away.
Yeah.
I would have, if I was going to tell myself at 19 years old, I would say just get your license
Right
there.
now,
Like
yeah.
right now. Because the amount of experience that I would have accumulated by now, would be 7 years.
Oh my,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? 7,
It
8
would
years
be-
of experience already. So that would be just a huge acceleration. Number 2, I would say raw, vegan, whole foods at least based diet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would.
Oh,
I would.
from
I would
19?
go that early. I would just say, "Hey, man, just realize like there's so much benefit in eating this way." And then I would say, do yoga, because
Oh,
I
that
didn't.
would have been geez.
I didn't really say. I just really started learning about yoga until maybe
Just a couple years
2009.
ago, yeah.
2009 when I did P90X.
Oh jeez.
So if I started learning yoga in 2005, I don't even know how I would be.
You'd be,
like
yeah.
my sense of peace or my centeredness would be completely
When did I
different.
first start yoga? It would have been 2000 and when did I graduate? 2003. 2003.
That was the first time you were exposed
The first time I was exposed to
Wow.
yoga. Yeah, when I was working.
In 2003,
I was working
people
as
are
a
just like
trainer
yoga. There was no one doing yoga back then.
No, it wasn't really that popular. Well, I mean, downtown.
In terms of guys, you know what I mean. In terms of guys doing.
Oh
it.
no, it wasn't.
Yeah,
that
it wasn't as popular.
It wasn't popular.
And he didn't have Lululemon. I don't think back then.
No.
I think that was still way before Lululemon started.
Where's the Lululemon?
So you didn't have the
It was
hot
Lululemon.
yoga clothes for the ladies
No.
yet. But yeah, frig. And see, I wouldn't. It wouldn't be about like business or sales for me. The first one was about sales.
Yeah.
But the other ones are just freaking. Yeah.
Get healthy,
About health,
do yoga.
about food, do yoga, and then learn how to sell. There's a lot more that I would say, but I think those are pretty primary
Yeah.
to me.
I also go back and say, listen, man, it's all gonna work out.
It's all going to work out.
Just
Everything
believe.
happens to your benefit, regardless of what it is.
Yeah.
You always look back and you're like, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense. You can connect the dots when you look
Yeah.
backwards.
Well, that's the was that the Steve Jobs commencement speech?
Yeah.
You can only connect the dots looking backwards. Yeah, let me get more tea.
Yeah.
The
let's
tea's
do it.
good.
Yeah. So, what would you say to your 19-year-old self if you were able to go back? Maybe you are 19 years old and you're listening to this. Did that help you? I mean, does that speak to you? Because if it does, then don't just sit on your ass and listen to a podcast. Do something about it. Apply it to your life. Find a way to make that stuff happen. Or if you're a little bit older than me or Chris, and you're just starting your journey in entrepreneurship, definitely keep that stuff in mind. What would you say to your 19-year-old self? You know, that time flies. Maybe you might say time just flies by, man.
Jeez, yeah, it goes
Cherish
faster as you
every
get older.
freaking moment. You have no idea when you're gonna die. Like in the last 7 years, what has happened? There's so much shit that's happened. So maybe you'd say to yourself, make the best of your time. Stop wasting time. End that relationship. Quit that job. Drop out of school. Take that opportunity. Move to that country. Go travel. You know, lose all that weight. Stop fucking wasting time. You have no idea when the switch of life is gonna turn off on you. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah,
Your mortality will wake you the hell up.
yeah, and it gets more and more clear as you get older.
Yeah.
The mortality. Once you get married, you have kids. There's
What do they say? The youth is wasted on the young.
yeah.
Because as soon as you get older, then you realize the value of your youth.
Yeah.
And, you know, like you might be 19 years old and hearing your parents say that and people around you saying that, don't waste your youth. Fucking listen to them. You don't know everything at 19 years old.
No.
You might think you do.
You might think you do. God,
But
I know.
you don't know
Everybody,
shit.
every teenager thinks they know everything.
Yeah.
At
But
that
I
age.
think it's
That's
just
part of
that's
life.
just part of it.
That's just a part of adolescence.
Mm-hmm.
Being a teenager and growing up.
Unbelievable. No, yeah, so I think that was really important, man. I was really inspired to do that type of segment after talking to that kid, 19 years old, asking about sales and entrepreneurship.
Yeah, very
and real
serendipitous
estate.
to have this conversation after you spoke to that guy and I spoke to and the guy I was speaking
That
to.
works really well. And that was not planned, guys.
Mid 40s, yeah, I mean, a lot older, and he's sort of starting into his real estate investing venture at that age, which is great, right? It's great. He's going to start something for his parents to live on, or for his kids. Sorry, as a parent, he's starting something for his kids to take over and learn, and yeah, very serendipitous conversation.
And that's the way it works. Just always fits.
That always fits.
So I just want to say a couple of things before we get on to the next part here. Next week, next Thursday, we're going to have Joey Ragona on the show. And I think he's going to be coming here for 2 p.m. We're going to do it during the day.
Okay. We're going to do that name show, or we're going to do
We're going to do the Holistic Entrepreneur Show with him.
Yeah? We'll do that one?
Yeah.
Well, I thought we'd do holistic. We're just going to do us Holistic Entrepreneur. We'll do the
It
other
doesn't
one.
matter. Whatever, man.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
It'll be a freaking podcast. It'll be on Meridius Radio. It'll be on Ustream. It'll be on YouTube. But Joey Ragona, he's a real estate business
Joey.
coach.
DJ Joey.
This guy used to be a freaking DJ. Let's talk about him for a little bit. I want to honor Joey D for a little bit here. He was a huge radio DJ, and he used to spin at clubs back in the day.
Yeah.
Mid to late 90s, early 2000s, was a
All over
producer,
Toronto.
was an importer of foreign music. He helped change the landscape of music in this freaking country.
Yeah.
And he was a celebrity back then. He was doing a lot of shit. And now he's a real estate investor, and from his success and his knowledge and his over 20 years of being in business, he is now coaching entrepreneurs, real estate entrepreneurs who have investment portfolios, who are looking to achieve the next level. And what he's starting to find out is that the next level is really to how do I manage my time to have that work-life balance. I want more clarity in my business and in life. That's what they're looking for, these coaching clients.
The clients, yeah.
And the reason why I want to have him on the show is because all the people that he's talking to, right? All the experience that he has. Think about how many people he's drawing from. He knows the stories and obstacles of a ton of people, and he has a lot to say about entrepreneurship, and especially holistic entrepreneurship.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah, no, actually, you know what? He would be great to talk about holistic entrepreneurship because, yeah, that's exactly right. And he's got all these clientele that he's dealing with, people with 1 property, 2 properties, 3 properties, up to 20 properties, 50 properties, I'm sure, where it's not what they expected, right? And their time's all wasted. It's not spending time with the wife, the family, the kids. They're not taking care of themselves. And he helps them, gain clarity and gain a holistic business.
And he's a freaking real deal. Joey is the real deal. He's a monster. He has his blog, Engaged Investor. He has his real estate coaching. He has his joint venture partners that he's acquiring and managing, properties with. He just does it all. He hangs out with his family. He freaking spends time in nature. He's on Facebook, always providing amazing quotes and valuable
all over North America speaking.
He's doing speaking engagements.
Cool.
Yeah, man. So he's doing a lot of amazing stuff. Yeah. So I'm
be
really excited to have him on the show, and I hope that you're able to tune in or at least watch the recording when it's on YouTube. But it will also be on Ustream.
Nice.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Yeah, that'll be really fun.
DJ Joey D. That'll be exciting next week.
Cool, man. So the last part that I wanted to talk about is because I've been thinking about this book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, for years. I read this in 2005, and I read it maybe for the 3rd time a couple of months ago.
Oh yeah, third time.
Well, before we get into the actual content and the book and what it is, but this is what I do, and I got this idea from Tim Ferriss. I used to highlight books and underline stuff and things like that. But more than that now, what I learned from Tim Ferriss is to make my own index. Just like you have an index in the beginning about all the titles and subtitles of the chapters of the books, I made my own on the back. So I just write the page number and a little bit about what it says on that page and kind of what was important to me so that I can go back and read stuff. So I guess
that's good.
I think that might be a helpful tip for anyone who's listening and starting to read, nonfiction books that'll help them with their business, with their self-development and stuff like that. That might help, keep things in here that at the time you found were important,
Oh, that's cool.
right?
So you just put it on the back cover.
Yeah, I just wanted the back
That's nice.
cover, or wherever there's a blank page. So I've been doing that with
A lot of your books.
Well, mostly the nonfiction books and the ones that are gonna help me. Right? If
I
it's
see.
fiction, then
Oh,
not really. If it's a
It's really for
biography, then
entertainment.
not really, right? But if it's like, an important book to me, then
I
I'll
haven't
make
read
sure
this
that
book
there's notes.
since- When did I read this book? 2006, 2007? It's about 5 years. Should probably read it again.
So a little bit about Napoleon Hill, who is the author of this book. This book was written in the early 1900s.
30s or something?
1937 is the copyright. And what happened is Napoleon Hill was commissioned by, I believe it was Andrew
Carnegie?
which was the United States Steel Corporation, USS
Yeah.
Steel.
One of the
Very,
richest people in
very
the world at the
wealthy man at the time, super wealthy, achieved it from nothing. He was in complete poverty.
Yeah.
And he commissioned Napoleon Hill and kind of put him on a challenge. He believed that there was a science, like a philosophy to success, to achieving wealth, to accumulating riches. And what he got Napoleon Hill to do, and what he inspired Napoleon Hill to do, is to interview, I believe it was over 100 entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs.
people, yeah.
And that includes, from at the time, people like
Right here.
Henry Ford. Who else is there? There's a ton
Big
of
names.
people. William Wrigley. Who else is there?
John Wanamaker.
Thomas Edison, John D. Rockefeller.
George Eastman. Charles M. Schwab. Theodore Roosevelt.
Yeah, Alexander Graham Bell. There's
Oh, yeah, geez, the 30s.
Yeah, so there are a ton of people that he interviewed, and I think he did it over the course of like 30 years.
Yeah,
Unpaid.
it was, yeah.
He got nothing for this.
Wow. No.
Well, I mean, at the time, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? While he was doing it, he wasn't getting like a penny or anything
No.
like that. Wasn't getting paid for it. But what he found was that, like what Anthony Robbins actually says, I don't know if he got that from Napoleon Hill, but success leaves clues. There is a certain way of doing business or a way of being that has made all these people tremendously successful.
Yeah.
Why is it that all of these people, which is like a small group of people, are able to amass these great amounts of wealth when so many other people don't? And I'll give you a hint. The title.
It's all there.
It's all there. It says everything. Think and grow rich. The biggest premise in the book is how our thoughts create our habits, and our habits create ourselves, and that is the core of whether you're going to be successful or not.
Absolutely. It all starts up there. Your thoughts, if they're negative primarily, you're going down spiral in the wrong direction. Primarily if you're thinking good thoughts and those thoughts equate to good feelings, you're feeling good, you're going in the right direction.
So I wanted to review this book. I wanted to have a talk about it, and what we'll do is we'll create this segment and put in a separate YouTube video, so we just have the Think and Grow Rich portion of it as well.
That's cool.
So that people can
So we
start.
would talk about it. Well, it's been a while since I read this book, but
Yeah.
talk about it today or talk about it like over courses.
I'm sure we're gonna go over it over and over and over again. But I mean, I guess
You got to give me a chance to read it again.
that's okay.
It's
Yeah,
been a
that's
while.
fine. Well, I'll bring it up because I have some stuff here, notes right from the index. But essentially, if you're thinking about personal development, this is the first book you go to, and
Think and Grow
this is the
Rich.
guy who started it.
Yeah, it all started
Without-
everything. In terms
Without
of
this book, that's the whole idea of developing and working on yourself would never have come
Yeah.
about the way it has.
Yeah. Well, I think in terms of self-development leading to monetary gains, this is definitely the first book. I mean, I think they probably had other sort of, maybe not self-help books, but, how to make money books. But this is the first one
Maybe.
that specifically deals, as far as I know, in terms of the mindset relating to
The
monetary.
mindset, and that's the whole thing, right? It's all about the mindset in this book. So the first thing I'm going to read something that's in this book. It's a poem, and it's about the law of autosuggestion. He describes the science of success with different laws of success, and one of them is autosuggestion. And autosuggestion is, I guess, like an old school way of describing affirmations. Things that you say to yourself, how you program yourself. You notice how they call TV programming?
Yeah.
It's because they're freaking programming your
Programming you.
brain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like we're always being programmed in our education system, on TV, our education system. But this whole idea is to do it to yourself, to program yourself for your own benefit, so you can achieve your intentions.
You know what? We gotta have Joey D talk about his.
There's gonna
auto-programming.
be so much.
When he was in high school, do you remember that story? He was telling us when he was in high school.
What did he say?
He would stand in front of the mirror every single day and he was just
shit,
like,
yeah.
"You're like the coolest guy in school, the most popular guy in school, this, that, like every single day." And world famous DJ
Yeah.
a couple years later.
And that's part of the knowing yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's this poem, and it's so this is how it goes. If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you like to win, but you think you can't, it is almost certain you won't. If you think you'll lose, you're lost. For out in the world we find, success begins with a fellow's will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think you are outclassed, you are. You've got to think high to rise. You've got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win the prize. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man, but soon or late, the man who wins is the man who thinks he can. That's
deep.
That is sick. And you can just reduce it to just think it. Think you can.
It starts here.
It all starts here. Because all of those stories, all of the negative things that you think about, I can't do it, I'm scared, and I'm ugly, or I'm too old, and I'm too young, and I'm too this, I'm too that. That's your freaking excuses in the way. Imagine you're able to reprogram yourself into thinking, yes, I can. If I believe it, it will be done. I am extraordinary. I add value to the people around me. I provide superior products and services. I create a successful environment. I hang around people who are like-minded and successful. If these are the things you tell yourself on a daily basis, shit will change for you
Absolutely.
so quickly. And one of the things that I know that he says in this book is you can say stuff. You can be like, I totally can do it. I'm a winner. I can make things happen. And, I'm a good salesperson. And, I have a healthy body. And I have good relationships. So you can just say the words, but that is not enough. You have to connect it to your emotions.
You got to feel it.
You got to feel it. It's got to be real. Because the way the mind works, it does not understand past, present, future, fiction, fact. It doesn't understand any of that. When you're talking about it, you talk about it in the present moment. And when you say it with feeling and you believe it, that's the big difference.
Yeah.
It's like you're creating a freaking magnetic charge to start attracting all the shit that you want in your life.
Absolutely.
Whether it's more success, whether it's more wealth, more fulfilling relationships, more reciprocal relationships, whatever it is.
Absolutely. We could talk about how we found each other. Maybe another day.
Yeah, we can do that.
So
what do you got? You got the workbook.
The Think and Grow Rich workbook.
Actually, that's pretty good to go through.
Bam.
Because when you go page by page, it goes like simple, like very simple.
Yeah. So
simple
my
detail
wonderful
here.
wife got this for us a couple years back.
09, man.
Was that 09?
It's a long time ago.
Jeez, 3 years ago. And we never ended up actually going through it, did we?
I started going through it.
Did you?
I'm like first couple sections done.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I think Michelle started hers too. I'm the lazy one. I haven't. But this is a good companion. Oh, this is Michelle's. I don't know where my. Oh no, I think did Michelle just get one from her and I? Or I think she got one for. I thought she got one for each of us.
No, we all got one. We all got individual ones.
Yeah, I don't know where mine is. So I was looking for it. Yeah. So this is a good companion book to Think and
this,
Grow
yeah.
Rich. So definitely go out, read the book, and then you can go out and do the workbook. So it kind of forces you to put the teachings into action.
And you start implementing it, and from what drawing from your own experience, right? It puts in
Look at that. So it
questions
gives
about
you,
yourself, right?
It gives you tasks. So task number 1, exact amount of money. Task number 2, intention to give. So this also goes, going into sort of the law of reciprocity, right? Giving, receiving. So what do you intend to give in return for the money you desire? Because you got to give something. You can't have something for nothing. So you've got to give time, product, service in order to get something. So what do you intend to give? Put it a date, task number 3. Put a plan, task number 4.
So it's very specific.
Statement of desire. So we're talking about the affirmation. Read your statement out twice daily.
So that's part of the programming.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is what I'm going to achieve. This is how I'm going to achieve it. This is why I'm going to achieve it. And this is what I'm going to do once I achieve it. And this is when.
Yeah.
Like, that is freaking specific. It's
Very
not like,
specific.
one day I'll make $100,000. And
Yeah.
it's like, I will be making $100,000 this year. I will be providing X and Y types of products and services and helping people in this way and making their lives better in this way in order to earn that money. And the reason I'm doing it is because it feels good and I know this stuff and I'm passionate about what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
And when I achieve the success, this is what I'm going to do with my success. I'm going to celebrate, or I'm going to travel, or I'm going to give myself something, or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
And this is what I'm going to do it by.
That's an important part,
That's
is
freaking
what you
huge.
plan to do. Because when you just intend on a specific number or dollar amount, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It's what are you going to do with the money? What are you going to do with the time? What do you intend to do with it? That's what you need to feel and think about, and then the money will come to help you achieve that.
Yeah. Totally, man. That's freaking ridiculous.
So definitely go out and get the workbook, because this will keep you in line and on track.
You should read this book every year, probably, I'd say. One of the biggest ideas in this book as well that I want to mention is the idea of the mastermind.
I was just about to say that. I was just flipping through and I was like, oh, mastermind.
So mastermind is one of the biggest ones. So what happens is,
mastermind groups.
so there's a story of Henry Ford where he's standing trial, right? This story.
Mm-hmm.
So Henry Ford is standing trial, and the prosecutor is trying to prove that Henry Ford is dumb, essentially, saying that he's not intelligent, he's not smart, he doesn't deserve to be successful. I don't know why they were doing this, but essentially he was pretty much saying Henry Ford should not be wealthy. He did not graduate from elementary school. He dropped out at like grade 6 or grade 8 or something like that. And he should not have all this wealth. He shouldn't have all this power. Shouldn't have this much impact on what's happening at the time when Ford was starting to explode and he introduced the car, right? So what happened was the prosecutor would go to Henry Ford and start asking him questions. What was the date that this war happened, and who was the president when this happened, and all these little facts that you would find out from school. Things that you absorb and you forget as soon as you finish writing the exam or test or whatever it is. And Henry Ford pretty much just stops him. And he's just like, why should I have to know all of these things when all I need is to push a button and one of my experts will tell me the answer?
Yeah.
That says so freaking much, man.
That says a lot.
And it's like Google, it's almost like Google. Why do I have to know X, Y, and Z? Why should it even occupy my brain when I can just look it up and my answer is there immediately?
Yeah.
I have so much more free space in my brain to think of other stuff that are more important. So the idea of the mastermind is to surround yourself with people who are amazing at what they do in a bunch of different things so that it helps you do the things that you're not good at. So Henry Ford, he's a visionary. But there's different aspects of his business that he was not going to do himself.
Yeah.
So he gets experts to do it. Napoleon Hill, what he did, he developed an imaginary mastermind. So he would have people before he goes to sleep. He would envision different, presidents and successful people in his life. I forgot exactly who they were.
Council of Mastermind. It was like Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, Abraham Lincoln and a bunch of people. And he would imagine their likeness and how they would talk and he made it so vivid in his head.
Yeah.
And he would deal with all of his problems and go to these advisors even just in his imagination to assess his problems. So the whole idea of the mastermind is that you have a bunch of people. You have, let's say there's a mastermind. You are part of our mastermind and you're with us in the mastermind group. Christopher would discuss his business, his life, anything that's going on in his life that he needs, some help on, some assistance on, some more insight, some outside perspective. And we would give him the time, and all of us would focus our energy into helping him solve his problem. And that's the power of the mastermind, is that it's not just one mind. It's everybody's intellect. It's everybody's energy to that one person and helping them get what they need. What they need in that situation. And that's freaking so powerful.
Yeah, the mastermind. I mean, even when we did that mastermind last year, it was incredible. Just the leaps and bounds that people were achieving.
Yeah.
Out of that mastermind group. Absolutely. Definitely recommend the mastermind. Yeah. Surround yourself. I mean, even, who was it that was talking about it? I think it was also Bill Gates. I think he was talking about how he's not the smartest man at Microsoft. He surrounds himself with the smartest people that create the programs for Microsoft.
Yeah, so there's a whole chapter about the power of the mastermind. And that entire chapter, if you just read that one chapter alone, it can change the trajectory of your success, of your life, of your business.
That's going back into the principles that we were talking about. What would you tell yourself? Asking for help. Mastermind, you got to put your pride aside and you're going to ask for help.
Yeah, and that relates all the way back to what we were saying, like what we would say to our 19-year-old self.
Yeah.
Some important things.
Surround yourself with those right people. Don't be too proud. Get into a mastermind. Ask for help.
Okay, so here I just went through a chapter, and it's called Organized Planning. So there's one part, it's called Take Inventory of Yourself. Remember we were just talking about self-knowledge and knowing yourself? So one of the most important steps in this book is to do this self-analysis questionnaire. It's a personal inventory. So
nice.
So you can just pick up this book and you can do the work to find out more about yourself in order to work on the things that aren't working, change the habits that are not serving you anymore, and change the mindsets that's not serving you anymore. So what are these questions? So we have, have I attained the goal which I established as my objective for this year? Have I delivered service of the best possible quality of which I was capable, or could I have improved any part of this service? Have I been guilty of any conduct which has not been approved by my conscience? Have my opinions and decisions been based upon guesswork or accuracy of analysis and thoughts? And on and on and on. So it's really going deep and thinking about it. You need to freaking set like an hour or two to answer all these questions, because I think he has two or three of these specifically on self-analysis.
Yeah, that's deep. That's deep.
Well, you gotta get freaking deep, man.
The workbook's big too.
And the other thing that he talks about is, well, he talks about a lot of things, but part of that first part, he always talks about definiteness of purpose. So it's like, in one sentence, can you say what your purpose is? Like, and you gotta be freaking definite about it. Yeah. Faith, there's a chapter on faith. You got to, visualize and believe that you're gonna attain what you desire. And it's like just believing it. And there's no, like, it's going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Right.
It's already happening. And just completely making sure that in every way, in every action, every word you say is taking you to that direction, and just trusting it, right?
Yeah, that's a big portion too, trusting.
There's a bunch of shit here. But yeah, I don't think this will be the last time we talk about it. There's so much here. He also talks about. I mean, he has some advanced stuff here. You know, for that time in 1937, he's talking about how your brain is a broadcasting system, and how what you think about is what you attract, and what your energy is like. What your energy is like is going to impact the people's, the way they see you is going to impact the way they interact with you.
Yeah, that's very advanced.
That's pretty advanced for
37
for back then. There's some stuff there that is very new agey for 1937, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
The subconscious mind. See, there's so much shit. Wow.
The 10 stimuli.
He talks about sex energy. And the other thing that he also talks about in this book is the importance of having accurate thought, is what he says. You know, make sure that you're thinking clearly. Make sure that you analyze situations, ideas, opinions thoroughly, and that you're not just going by the whim of the masses. That you are actually thinking for yourself. Because he has another book that was unreleased for like 70 years.
I was just gonna say that,
called Outwitting the Devil.
We should talk about that book.
There's so much in that book that we can talk about.
Because at least that book. Wow, I know I've read that recently. You read that, well, probably a little longer ago, but I've read that just a few months back. That book is,
and that's very critical about
that book is
the system, right?
Yeah,
and it's very much about thinking for yourself and making sure that you have control over yourself. Yeah. And what you think about and what.
Because a lot of that book speaks to a lot of the issues of people today.
Yeah, it's very. I guess it probably didn't get released because it was such a touchy subject. He touches on religion.
Yeah.
On government. On education.
Yeah.
A lot of touchy subjects there.
A lot of touchy, especially for when the book was written.
Which was, I think, like 2 years after he wrote this.
Was it just?
And it was never, so probably 1939 it was. Oh, jeez. I'm pretty sure. And it wasn't released until last year.
2011.
Last year or the year before.
Yeah.
And I'd say that's, like, those two books, you should read them together. It's like they were meant for each other.
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to read one after another, I believe. It's like the part 2 of Think and Grow Rich. Because the whole idea of the devil
you're right, yeah. Because this book, it really goes into knowing yourself.
Yeah.
The intro, right? That book goes into the outro, the outside environment, and opens your eyes to the outside environment.
Yeah.
And protecting yourself from that.
Protecting yourself, yeah.
So yeah, this is definitely, it's like a 1 and 2. Think and Grow Rich is working on yourself first, making that strong, and then open up your eyes. Outwitting the Devil is open up your eyes to the outside environment and knowing how to protect yourself and think for yourself.
Yeah.
And knowing what they're trying to sell.
And it's cool the way he does it.
The man is trying to sell you.
It's a dialogue. So the way it works is a dialogue, and he's talking to the devil. So the devil, I guess it's just a personification of,
however you want to
like,
take
a darker self, like just so that you can experience, what exactly is happening in the world, and it feels like it was made for this time.
It feels like it was made for
right now,
but
it was made for back then, and it's so funny to be like, wow, shit really hasn't changed much.
No. Well, now it's a lot. I mean, it's a little more
sophisticated.
It's a lot more put out there. People have woken up a lot more today than even 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot, and with obviously with the internet, you can connect with a lot more people. It's a lot more open. You can talk about these things a lot more openly than you could pre-internet.
Okay, so I'm gonna go fucking deep right now, because I heard of this one thing. It's called, I think it's the Schumann. Fuck, I gotta double check it. It's like the Schumann energy resonance or something like that. We should Google it if we could. But essentially, what it is that just let me look it up. But Schumann resonance. So what it is that the Earth has an electromagnetic field, okay? And Schumann resonance is a measure of the Earth's electromagnetic field.
Okay.
And what they found out is that there is like a pulse to the Earth,
Okay.
okay? Like electromagnetically. And what's happening is, I believe it's starting to slow down.
The pulse.
Yeah. The pulse, the cycles are slowing down,
Okay.
exponentially slowing down. Okay? And because of that, I think I read something where they relate that to the way things are changing at such an accelerated pace.
Right.
So if you look at the last 2,000 years, you can say that the first 1,700 years, there was hardly any progress.
Hardly any change.
You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden you hit the 1800s, and boom, you start getting like a huge exponential growth in population because of the way food was, the way food was grown and the way agriculture, was done, and then the industrial age in the early 1900s, transportation, and then we're just hitting this huge spike of growth. And that there was one article that says that 25% of history has happened in the last 10 years, because history is just people's stories. It's just the more people there are, the more history there is, the more culture there actually is.
Yeah.
And so part of this resonance thing and that is, I believe that we're at a point where consciousness, awareness is accelerating at a pace faster than even last year.
Oh,
like,
okay, yeah.
The way it was even just 10 years ago. If you could imagine 10 years ago how many people were thinking about health the way they do now, think about yoga the way they do now, this whole holistic alternative lifestyle, alternative medicine, homeschooling, entrepreneurship, there's a new age. There is a freaking shift out there. And
I agree.
Joey has a lot to talk about that. He has an entire presentation about the shift. So I think that all ties into what we're going to have on the next show.
Nice. That's a good segue.
Yeah. We're getting better, folks.
Get you on the hook.
We're getting better.
Get you on the hook.
So, before we leave, because it's already been an hour and 12 minutes.
Hour 12?
Yeah.
7:20.
Find this recording. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube. It's youtube.com/Meridius Media. We're going to have segments of the show posted on YouTube on a daily basis. So pieces of the show are available in a little bit more digestible form. And if you want to watch the full show, it'll be on
3-4 minute
YouTube.
clips.
Yeah, 3-4 minute clips. And I find that's gonna be a good way to show people really what's happening on the show if they don't have the time. They don't want to put the time
an hour
into
to
it.
watching. Yeah,
Exactly. So find us on youtube.com/Meridius Media. All our live shows, usually we do them on Thursdays, and that's going to be on Ustream. Ustream.tv live. That'll be streamed live every week. What else is there? If you want to find Christopher, is it facebook.com/Christopher G. Lim? If you want to find
Twitter,
me,
Christopher G. Lim.
Yeah, so Facebook and Twitter, they're both Christopher G. Lim, right?
Everything is Christopher G. Lim.
Okay.
LinkedIn, Google,
Perfect.
Plus, it's all there. Christopher
If
G.
you want to find my information, it's on olivermanalese.ca. That leads you to my about.me page. And every link that we are talking about here, everything that we're doing is there.
Sweet.
All right?
Easy.
So if you want to check it out, come to the next show. We want to start getting some people conversing on the show as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a way to chat. There's an ability to log on to Ustream and start asking questions and engage with us. We want to start introducing that as well. And yeah, I'm fucking excited, man. I can't believe we've been doing it for this long now. It's been like 6 weeks.
5 weeks, 6 weeks.
Yeah,
That's cool,
5,
man.
6 weeks.
Yeah. There'll be a lot to talk about.
All right, man.
We'll reread. I'm gonna reread this.
Good stuff. And we have so much to talk about next week, and we look forward to having you be there to experience Joey D.
DJ Joey D.
Freaky. Goodbye, folks.